What's a creature like you doing in a place like this?
So I just finished playing through Gotham Knights, and if I could sum up my experience with just one phrase, it would be that this game is a letdown. Oh boy, where do I even begin with Gotham Knights? I just wanted to like this game so bad. I really did. But I just can't. There are so many questionable decisions that WB Montreal made for the development of this game. Just so many fundamental flaws about this game that ruined the experience to the point where this game just becomes a slog to get through. And I was so relieved that the game was over by the end of it. This game was such a massive letdown, especially because it rides off the back of the widely beloved and amazing Batman Arkham series. So Gotham Knights had some pretty big vigilante boots to fill. That being said, Gotham Knights still doesn't stand out very well by itself, but I'll get to why that is later. First, I'm going to talk about one of the better portions of this game, and that's the story. There will be slight spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled, then you can skip ahead. The story in Gotham Knights is actually pretty decent. It takes place in a universe where Batman has died trying to solve a big case, and now it's up to his protege to take the mantle of Defenders of Gotham and to fight crime in his stead, and solve Batman's last case before he died. Now, I'm not saying that it's Shakespeare or anything, but out of all the bad parts of Gotham Knights, the story is the least bad. Okay, actually, one problem I did have with the story was in the beginning cutscene where Batman was fighting Ra's al Ghul and he was just getting his ass handed to him in a 1v1. Like, it wasn't even close. I can kinda understand if Batman had to fight 20 assassins at once while he was blind, deaf, and had diarrhea, but it was just a 1v1 against Ra's al Ghul in the Batcave, Batman's domain. I'm supposed to believe that Batman, who can go toe-to-toe with Superman, who is theoretically able to defeat everyone in the Justice League, who has a backup plan for every situation, loses a 1v1 in his own territory. No shot. The writers nerfed Batman so hard in order to make the story work. But that's just my one gripe with the story of this game. The rest of the story is okay with some good moments. In fact, the story has some actual emotional moments, and it's no small help from the excellent voice acting and the good looking character models. It's just too bad that these moments are short and scarce.
Nightbutt, you came. Oh, but look at you. You're getting all skinny. You gotta eat. Wouldn't want you to lose them glutes.
It's, good to see you too.
All the heroes even get their own cutscenes depending on which character you choose, which is pretty neat. But other than that, the story and cutscenes are probably the best part of the game. And speaking of best parts, unfortunately Gotham Knights has a lot of bad parts. First of all, this game is just straight up poorly optimized, like constant frame drops to 30 FPS while traversing the city, multiple crashes. This game just ran like garbage a lot of the time. And I'm not saying that my PC is top of the line or anything, but it's running a Ryzen 7 5800X processor and an AMD 5700 XT graphics card. So it's good enough to run 99% of games in ultra settings while streaming with no problem. Even with that, this game just runs like molasses most of the time, even crashing 3 times during my playthrough. And while we're on the topic of performance, the graphics overall are just mediocre. Like, Gotham City does not look that good compared to the Batman games that were made 7 years ago.
I hope they know what they're doing.
And not only does it not look good, but the city is absolutely dead. There are barely any people walking on the street or any cars on the road. If you're lucky, you'll maybe see like 2 cars on the road or 1 person walking on the sidewalk. Like, there's just nothing going on in this city. It's absolutely dead. The only semblance of life in this world are the premeditated crimes or the side activities that show up in the world. And they're fun for the first few times that you do them, but they get very boring and repetitive after you realize that the gameplay loop is just repeating the exact same side activities for the umpteenth time till you get to a high enough level to do some story content. I'm pretty sure I've cleared out this exact same stronghold 4 or 5 times throughout my playthrough, each time with the exact same objective with the exact same enemy types. I was okay with it after the 3rd time clearing it, but after the 5th time, I just got sick of it. I'll repeat for all side activities till the end of the game, and yeah, it's very shallow and uninteresting content. Now, this cardinal sin of boring content could have been forgiven if the gameplay changed at all during your playthrough, but unfortunately it doesn't. In fact, the gameplay pretty much stays the same the entire time. Let me explain how the gameplay works. First, you got your light melee attack and heavy melee attack. Then you got your light range attack and heavy range attack, and a dodge button. Seems pretty simple enough for an action beat 'em up type game. Except it's not. The thing is, Gotham Knights tries to add RPG mechanics to the gameplay, and it's honestly the worst decision WB Montreal made for this game. The RPG parts of this game bring down the whole experience from mediocre beat 'em up to shitty mobile game RPG. Here's what I mean by that. The UI of this game looks exactly like a mobile game UI. They got huge text boxes that are meant for the average mobile gamer's meaty sausage fingers with a giant text of the power level. Then they got the shitty crafting materials with generic images. Then there's the 15 tabs at the top of the screen, all with notifications to top it off. So my $60 full price game looks like a mobile game. Cool. So how does it function? Well, it plays like a mobile game too. You see, when you defeat an enemy, they drop a blueprint for one of your 3 equipment slots and some crafting materials. The thing is, you only have 3 equipment slots: your suit, your melee weapon, and your ranged weapon. All of these pieces of equipment have a gear score or power level to them, and their stats are based on the power level. So the higher the power, the better the stats. Seems simple on the surface, but the thing is, all you're doing is just crafting the gear that gives you the highest power level. There aren't really any builds you can do aside from like a jank elemental build. And the skill trees aren't even interesting at all, as most of it is just passive stat boosts. I think like 3 or 4 things on the skill trees actually give you like a new ability. So the gameplay just devolves into get thing with bigger number, and it honestly just feels half-assed. Overall, if I had to sum up my opinion on the RPG aspect of the game, I would say that it's okay, it does its job, but it doesn't need to be there. It doesn't enhance the experience at all. In fact, I would say because of its half-assed inclusion, it bogs down the entire experience. That's what I think of it anyway. Now, how does the gameplay actually feel though? Well, not that much better, because the combat feels really slow. The movement is really floaty and the attacks feel really delayed, and it doesn't really help that the enemy types get more and more unfun as the game goes on. Like, the League of Shadow enemies just suck. They constantly vanish after 3 hits, they're really tanky, and their attacks are really annoying. They're not the only annoying enemies. The bosses are also annoying to fight as well because they have a very limited moveset, so they spam the same 3 or 4 moves while you're only allowed to get 1 or 2 hits in because they have some annoying gimmick. Then they run away. Now repeat that for the entire fight. I could go on and on about the annoying stuff and little nitpicks, but I'm not. So to sum up the gameplay, the enemies get really annoying and your character moves like molasses. And as I said earlier, you're doing the same content over and over again. So imagine you have to clear the same criminal fort for the 4th time with the same enemies using the same attacks while the enemies get tankier and tankier. Sounds boring, right? That's because it is. After doing the same shit for 25 hours, it'll start to wear on you. But hey, at least the animations are really good and entertaining to watch. And then there's the Fortnite glider. The saving grace of this game is that Gotham Knights has co-op, and you can play with another friend throughout the game. But even WB messed that up because you can only play with one other friend, even though there are 4 characters. Like, come on, really? So, what are my overall thoughts on Gotham Knights? I think that Gotham Knights is a decently fun beat-em-up game that's held back by questionable decisions and half-assed systems that didn't need to be included. The main gameplay loop gets really boring after a couple of hours because you're just doing the same activities over and over again with just different numbers. And after the 25 hours it took to beat the main story, I just wanted it to be over with because they really start to drag it out towards the end. So because of that, I cannot in good conscience recommend this game. But if you're still somewhat interested in this game, then you should get it on sale for at least half off. And that's it for this review. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more game reviews in the future. See ya.